Welcome to last video in Lesson 2, Repeating and Terminating Decimals. Here we're going to work backwards as what we were working on previously when we changed fractions to decimals. Now we'll be writing decimals as fractions. So if the decimal is terminating, then we're going to write it over either 10, 100, 1,000, and so on. So for 0.23, if I read that as 23 hundredths, you'll see that we write it over 100. Now another little shortcut is to essentially look at how many decimal places there are. 0.23 has 2 decimal places, so that means that there'll be 2 zeros in the denominator. Now whenever we're dealing with fractions, we always need to reduce if possible. So here, 23 over 100 can't reduce, so we'll leave it like that. Now let's practice what we just learned. We have to write each decimal in fractional form. So A, we have 2 tenths. So I would write it as 2 over 10. Now this one can reduce. I can divide both 2 and 10 by 2. And when I do 2 divided by 2 and 10 divided by 2, I get 1/5. Now that corresponds to what we have done previously. We know that 1/5 is 0.2, so we know it's correct. Now for B, I have 5 and 45 hundredths. So I can write as 545 over 100. Now because the numerator ends in a 5 and the denominator ends in a 0, I know that I can divide both of these numbers by 5. Now using a calculator, I get 109 over 20. And I can't reduce that anymore. Now for C, I have 1/100th. And that is now fully simplified. And for D, I have 1 and 304 thousandths. So I have to write the number over 1,000. Now we can use our divisibility rules here to figure out what we can divide the numerator and denominator by. Now they're both even, so you can divide by 2. But if I think about my divisibility rule for 4, I see that the last 2 digits in the numerator and the denominator are divisible by 4. So I'm going to go ahead and divide by 4. Now doing on the calculator, 1,304 divided by 4 is 326, and 1,000 divided by 4 is 250. Now I can divide this again by 2 because the numerator and denominator are even. So dividing by 2 gives me 163 over 125. Then looking at your divisibility rules again, we can't divide by 2, the numbers are odd. Can't divide by 4, looking at the last 2 digits. Can't divide by 5, and so on. So that is fully simplified. Now all the decimals we just looked at were terminating. So what if it's repeating? Well, we can write it over either 9, 99, 999, depending on how many digits are repeating. So for 0.7 repeating, that is written as 7 over 9. One repeating number means it'll just be over 9, and 2 repeating numbers means it'll be over 99, and so on, as we looked at previously. So let's do some more practice here now, using that rule. So for A, because we have 2 digits repeating, I'm going to write that over 99. Always remembering to reduce. Now we can't reduce this one, so let's move on to B. 0.3 repeating is 3 over 9. Now this one can reduce. I can divide numerator and denominator by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. 0.45 repeating would be 45 over 99. Now I know I can divide both of these numbers by 9, thinking about my multiplication facts. 45 divided by 9 is 5, and 99 divided by 9 is 11. Now for the last one, since there are 3 digits repeating, we can write that over 999. Now in terms of reducing, I'm not going to divide by 2 because the bottom number is odd, but what about 3? Well, as a reminder, the rule for 3 says that if we add up the digits If it's divisible by 3, then we can divide by 3. So if I add up 8 plus 7 plus 6 in the numerator, I get 21. Now 21 is divisible by 3. And I also know that 999 is divisible by 3. So let's go ahead and simplify. So doing that in the calculator, I get 292 over 333. Then, applying the divisibility rules again, you'll see that we're actually done here. So that concludes this section. Make sure you complete the activities before moving on.